When I was 9, some of my best ideas started by stealing some of Mom's Tupperware. We lived in the country in Ohio, and my little sister, her name's Janine, but we call her Beanie. Beanie and I had acres of land to explore. We needed Mom's Tupperware for things like terrariums to house the insects and creatures that we collected, and we'd get in so much trouble because we'd stab holes in the lids, for proper ventilation. We used Mom's Tupperware for time capsules. We had a lot of animals, and we would take samples of their fur and write little notes about them, put them in the Tupperware containers, and bury them throughout the yard so that people hundreds of years later would understand how precious our pets were to us. We loved playing outdoors, and one of our favorite things to do was to lace up our duck boots, the ones with the waterproof bottoms, and head down the hill to play near the pond. I was drawn to the murky water and green algae. There were frogs that hid in the tall cattails that towered above us with their fuzzy brown spikes, and a whole underwater world of fish that we came to know were called bluegills. We loved animals. We had adopted a lot of pets from the shelter. But one day I convinced Mom to take us into town to go to the mall where there was a pet store so that we could browse the aquarium section. Right away, I saw this big orange fish. He was as wide as he was long, with a bulbous body and bulging eyes and fat lips. Beanie, my sister, named him Big Lips, but I convinced Mom to let us take him home as our first pet fish. But how are we going to get Big Lips from the store home, I wondered. I watched as the store clerk came, and she had a plastic bag and easily dunked it into the aquarium and used a green fish net and scooped up Big Lips, and before I knew it, I was holding him in my hands. I realized that holding a pet fish was really different than holding a pet cat or a dog. I could see it was just a thin, translucent layer of plastic that was sustaining Big Lips' habitat in the water, and that with one wrong move, he would suffer in the atmosphere outside of this flimsy plastic bag. I knew his life was in my hands, and I wanted to keep him safe. I bought him a fishbowl and some bright blue gravel and even a miniature castle so that he could swim around like a king. I made it home, and I fed him every day. He grew wider and longer, and somehow his fishbowl seemed to get smaller. One day I was playing with Beanie by the pond, and I had this brilliant idea. I thought, why am I keeping Big Lips in the captivity of this fishbowl cage when he could be free to roam in his natural habitat of the pond? I told my little sister about the plan. I explained to her we'd be real heroes. We would be introducing Big Lips to the wild and the great outdoors, and plus he would have a host of new friends among the bluegills. She agreed this was a noble plan. We were going to do this good deed, and we were really actually quite proud of ourselves. So we got some of Mom's Tupperware and managed to get Big Lips from the fishbowl into the Tupperware container. I grabbed a lid, one that didn't have holes poked in it, and put it on tight, and we began walking down the hill toward the pond. We walked pretty slowly because I wanted to make sure that I didn't swish Big Lips around too much. It was also a ceremonious march because we knew that we were saying farewell to our pet fish, but again, we were comforted by the fact that we were doing something for his greater good. We got to the edge of the pond, and I looked down in the murky water, and in my mind, I had pictured Big Lips would take this swan dive to freedom. In reality, I poured the container, and he plunked into the water. And the murky water did nothing to subdue the vibrant orange of his body. Beanie and I looked into the water. We could see him really clearly, the bright orange. But the water did start splashing, and the body of Big Lips became this fireworks of orange fragments and scattering in all directions, and there was a frenzy of bluegills attacking our beloved Big Lips. We were horrified standing there realizing that Big Lips was suffering from cannibalism and there was nothing that we could do about it. Not to mention the fact that instead of being heroes, we had just murdered our pet fish. Until this day, when I see fish in aquariums, I cringe thinking about Big Lips and the bluegills. Thank you.